literally going against your body. You can hear the thunder booming across the town, and considering that it's already flooded, this sort of rain is going to lead to worse flooding than we even saw last week.
Snowstorms, melting heat, ravenous rain, and total blackouts. That's what the future of North America looks like, and it is indeed very dark, but not so cold. Many agree that climate change is apocalyptic and perhaps poses a nuclear-level threat.
Just enough to be considered a La Niña winter, which influences the jet stream placement and weather pattern during the winter months. That usually gives the Pacific Northwest a colder, wetter, and sometimes snowier than average winter, but it usually just favors it. It's not always a guarantee.
Today, scientists are warning that North America is gradually losing its winter season, and with La Niña on the brink of destruction, there's no going back.
The long, hot, dry summer is behind us, along with the record-breaking fire season for the West. And now we're seeing the cooler, wetter weather of fall. Winter is just around the corner, and we're all wondering if it will bring us the much-needed rain and snow that we're all hoping for.
Imagine a winter with no snow, skiing, or ice fishing. The very essence of life is under threat, and La Niña just made it worse. Join us as we explore the worst disaster in North America that's about to happen. La Niña is coming. Flooding, droughts, landslides, storm surges, coastal inundation. These are only a few of the impacts of La Niña across the Pacific, the very same pattern that's expected to shape up North American weather before the end of the summer. And the scientists are constantly raising red flags. In early 2024, El Niño had been shaping the weather across North America all winter. But then meteorologists noticed a sudden shift in the weather. The tides changed, and many weather watchers, including AccuWeather, issued a La Niña watch, citing that the new tide will likely displace the El Niño weather. This means that we're looking for an impending hurricane season in the Atlantic, and the experts warn that we might see the return of 2006 and 2007 winter storms. Paul Pastelok, the long-range expert at AccuWeather, warned the AccuWeather long-range team is forecasting a quick weakening of El Niño this spring. Through our research and climatology, La Niña could develop in late summer or early fall 2024. However, Paul had given those tidings back in February 2024 when La Niña was in a very immature phase. As of July 2024, the likelihood of the devastating weather conditions hitting the continent is more than 70%. In the upcoming weeks, La Niña will take its shape, and before the end of the summer, it'll be ready to create a wet, wild winter in America. So, how does La Niña differ from its predecessor, El Niño? Depending on the region, both weather patterns can create chaos. For instance, the 1997 and 1998 El Niño events were the most destructive oscillation of weather in the southern strip. We saw the worst tornado outbreak in the history of the state of Florida. In all, 15 strong tornadoes hit Florida in a matter of hours. No wonder why that devastating time was dubbed as the Night of Tornadoes. Outside the US, the El Niño events created havoc in Southern America. Countries like Peru saw billions of damages in heavy rainfall, flooding, and landslides. El Niño and La Niña always boil down to a slight temperature difference in the oceanic water, but even a small fraction can cause human and infrastructure damage. These two weather phenomena are connected to a specific region of the Pacific Ocean, located south of Hawaii near the equator. El Niño occurs when the ocean temperature in this area rises to at least 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit above the historical average for 3 months or more. On the other hand, La Niña is declared when the water cools down to at least 0.9 degrees Fahrenheit below the average during the same period. When El Niño occurs, the trade winds weaken, allowing warmer waters to linger in the eastern Pacific along the west coasts of North and South America. According to NOAA, this shift causes the jet stream to dip southward, leading to drier conditions in Canada and the northern US, while bringing more moisture to the southern US. In contrast, during a La Niña year, the trade winds become stronger, pushing warm water toward Asia and causing cold water to rise along the Pacific coast of the Americas. This change nudges the jet stream northward, resulting in drier conditions in the southwest and southeast, while the Pacific Northwest and Great Lakes experience wetter weather. Here's the catch though. Due to climatological discrepancies, it's very hard to predict what these weather patterns can mean for certain regions. One of the irreversible impacts of climate change is major uncertainty in predicting weather conditions, and for scientists, such hurdles are almost catastrophic. However, what we know is that La Niña is going to be different in North America. We just don't know how different. In the US this year, La Niña would have an added layer of strength according to weather scientists. As per their observations, the terrifying weather pattern would coincide with the hurricane season in the Atlantic, ravaging any and everything that comes in its way. When La Niña develops, it could significantly influence the weather across the United States next winter. Typically, La Niña brings dry and mild conditions to the south, colder temperatures to the northeast, and frequent storms to the northwest. Such predictions have become increasingly daunting in the face of our ever-changing climate. Only in 2023, the Earth lived through the hottest year ever on record, and such implications can't be ignored. The uncharted territory. Typically, La Niña means a major dip in temperatures. However, we're likely not to see this phenomenon in North America. You see, the very idea of white winters is slowly fading away. After experiencing the hottest year in 2023, it's unlikely that La Niña will cause a decline in the temperatures. Climate scientists like Tom DiLiberto from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration are calling this phenomenon a lag in La Niña. According to their robust predictions, 2024 will also be a top 5 year for temperature in climate history. And this means our lives are going to change drastically. The data shows that the surface temperature of the Atlantic Ocean is warmer than usual. So in addition to the storms, we're going to see scorching heat in Northern America, which is likely to cause a series of wildfires. Alex DeRosier, a doctoral candidate in atmospheric science at Colorado State University, warns that the warming of the Atlantic Ocean is another terrifying impact of La Niña. And according to him, it's one of the pressing climate change concerns we often forget. Due to the anticipated La Niña conditions and the unusually warm surface temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean, the Tropical Weather and Climate Research Team at Colorado State University is predicting a particularly active Atlantic hurricane season. They expect around 23 named storms, significantly higher than the average of 14.4, and 5 of these storms could become Category 3 or stronger hurricanes, compared to the usual 3.2. This season might resemble the highly active years of 2010 and 2020, both of which saw numerous storms and caused significant damage in North America. As usual, our climate preparedness is on the low. While speaking to Live Science, DiLiberto of NOAA said that these climate discrepancies make weather conditions like La Niña almost wild and uncontained. It was common for them to expect cooler than average temperatures in the North US, but now their forecasts have changed drastically. Due to the background effects of climate change, these areas might not experience scorching heat waves, a phenomenon that we've never seen before the year of 2023. Similarly, even though 2023 was El Niño year, we still saw a surge of hurricanes when such weather conditions likely suppress or shorten the hurricane season. This busy storm season might be true in part to 2023 being the warmest year on record. According to DeRosier, with an Atlantic that's this warm, we're kind of in uncharted territory. What we're sure about is that the storm is coming, and most parts of Northern America would be rather wet than white. Winters are changing. It's not a drill. Winters are not coming. Back in 2023, BBC published a report citing the concerns of average citizens who were confused about a rather warm winter. Many had believed that perhaps their mind was playing games on them. Maybe ice was melting quickly because of some bizarre reasons, and they were getting less chilly than usual. Such bizarre phenomena where the winter didn't winter was felt throughout our home planet. So of course, it was just not in your head. The truth of the matter is that the global average temperature is on the rise, and a very uncertain El Niño event of 2023 might have caused permanent damage to the future of our winters. El Niño not only alters weather patterns globally, but also contributes to rising global temperatures. The warmth from the recent strong El Niño, often referred to as a Super El Niño, played a significant role in making 2023 the hottest year on record since the late 1800s when accurate weather records began. In 2023, Berkeley Earth scientist Zeke Hosfather shared with USA Today that the primary cause of the extreme warmth over the past few months is a large El Niño event on top of the longer-term warming of the planet driven by human activities. However, Ha's father also noticed that the unusually high temperatures seen during the summer and fall of 2023 before El Niño had fully developed remained somewhat of a mystery. At the same time, for many scientists, the mystery in question wasn't so enigmatic. Many climate scientists believe that human activities have brought our planet to the brink of inadaptability. Zachary Labe from NOAA told USA Today that it's certain that global temperatures are subjected to La Niña and El Niño, and other additional factors like volcanic eruptions, changes in the human and natural emissions of aerosols, and solar activity from the sun. But it's also important to notice that while these factors fluctuate the heat levels, they also come and go. In their absence, we get temporary relief from the insufferable heat. This is why these factors are not the fundamental problem. As Labe said, the primary reason for this remarkable stretch of record-breaking warmth around the world is due to human-caused climate change. The very same phenomenon has caused major havoc across the globe, from urban flooding to the record-fast melting of the ice sheets and glaciers. Our climate is changing fast. Now, unlike Labe, many scientists also believe that climate change isn't human-made, but it's also increasingly hard to deny that our lives are changing. This year, and in 2025, Northern America will hardly see the usual winter season. Jennifer Francis, a senior scientist at the Woodell Climate Research Center, an independent team of climate scientists, has also added to Labe's contribution. She explains that winters have a stronger response to heat-trapping gases than summers. Now, you might have heard of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane, but in this phenomenon, water vapors also play a huge part. For every 1.8 degrees Fahrenheit increase in temperature, air can hold up to 7% more moisture. She further explains, cold atmospheres are especially sensitive to the additional moisture because the air is usually dry to start with, and a little more water vapor means a lot more heat is trapped near the surface. In regions where winter temperatures are climbing above freezing, the result is often more rain instead of snow. However, in areas where winter is warming but still stays below 30 degrees Fahrenheit, the increased moisture in the air can actually lead to more snowfall. Either way, we're compromised. The current weather predictions also support such climatic implications. What to expect? After what was the most warmest winter on record, the upcoming winter is expected to be wetter and milder across most of the US. According to the Farmer's Almanac, the latest edition, which just came out, is calling this winter a wet winter whirlwind. Sandy Duncan, the editor of the Farmer's Almanac, shared with USA Today that it looks like we're in for a wetter, not whiter, winter in many parts of the country. Of course, depending on where you live, you might still see more snow than rain, but the overall trend is pointing toward a wet season ahead. The likely emergence of La Niña between September and November, as predicted by the Climate Prediction Center, could also play a role in making this winter warmer than usual for much of the country. Average or above normal temperatures are expected across New England, the Northeast, the Southern Plains, the Southeast, and the Atlantic coast regions this winter. According to Duncan, the coldest temperatures seem to be setting up over the north-central states and into the Great Lakes area. As for the holiday season, most of the country should brace for a wet Thanksgiving, except for the far southeast, which might stay dry. And when it comes to Christmas, it looks like most areas will see more rain than snow, making for a wetter holiday rather than a white one. Soon, if we continue on this destructive track, White Christmas will only be limited to our wildest imagination. Climate scientists are constantly warning that the experience of all seasons, including the winter, is definitive for our survival. From many industries to crops, many rely on the winter chills to thrive in tricky environments. As white winters fade away from Northern America, wildlife and their habitats are on the brink of their extinction too. For humans, the biggest danger of the fading white winter is the repulsive and continuous winter storms that also caused major infrastructure damage back in 2020. In 2020, the last La Niña brought an unprecedented 30 tropical storms and 14 hurricanes to the Atlantic, and 2021 followed with 21 tropical storms and 7 hurricanes. The impact of the North American winter storm was especially severe. Over 4 million people were left without power for weeks. It's hard to forget the images of firefighters struggling to rescue families in Texas during this crisis. February saw 3 major storms hit the state, leaving many Texans facing freezing temperatures without electricity and struggling to find enough food. Are we expected to see the same conditions in 2024 and early 2025 too? Well, many meteorologists believe so. In particular, most of Northern America would experience a potential very active storm track in January 2025. This pattern development would bring strong and gusty winds along with very heavy precipitation. As per the almanac, most of the nation will see a copious amount of snow, rain, sleet, and ice. Overall, however, winters are going to be low in Northern America, and the great winter chills will be largely wet rather than solid. The notable mention for this type of weather is the South Central states, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and of course, Texas. These regions are expected to get a lot of rain and wet snow in the months of December and January. There are some exceptions to these atypical and turbulent weather patterns too. The North Central states, Colorado, Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Minnesota, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Wyoming are in for a blustery Halloween, followed by early November snowfall in the Rockies. A significant storm is expected in early November, bringing heavy snow and a sharp drop in temperatures once it passes. After a wet and snowy Thanksgiving, December is set to kick off with more storms. However, Christmas is predicted to be generally fair, dry, and very cold, with unseasonably cold weather arriving in late January. This is where winter really starts to feel like winter, said Sandy Duncan, noting that this period will bring the coldest temperatures of the season and average snowfall. February is expected to be snowy, with a significant storm predicted for Idaho and a mid-February snowstorm in the plains that could drop heavy snowfall, particularly in Kansas. This is not to say that such regions aren't affected by the rise in the average global temperatures. Such discrepancies, coupled with the events of La Niña, will have a likely impact on the North Central states, but it'll be predicted closer to the winter. Indeed, climate scientists constantly revise their forecasts. Previously, it was predicted that the impacts of La Niña on the continent would be very moderate, but in a matter of a few weeks, La Niña was in the position to substitute El Niño. However, scientists are almost certain that the weather patterns wouldn't depict its typical chilly conditions. Independently, the warming winters will notably add to the severity of the phenomenon, and that's on record. The dangerous precedents. Many climate tanks had warned us of the warming winters back in 2023. Publications like National Geographic and Vox have done extensive coverage of the issue, its causes, and its impact. However, many people denied the existence of such a phenomenon. The climate scientists say that they have enough data to support their arguments, and above everything, we have a solid precedent in North America too. In January 2024, Vox reported a bitter cold continues to grip the United States as unusual freezing temperatures stretch as far south as Florida this week. Even more chilly weather is in store through the weekend, putting more than 80% of the US population under some type of cold weather advisory. Sounds like a usual weather report from January, right? But not really. At the same time, the publication warned that the winter has slowed down too. This year's winters had begun after the hottest summer on record, so it was expected that 2023 would have a spillover effect too. And well, it did. Climate Central reported that more than 200 locations in the United States have lost almost 2 weeks of below freezing nights since 1970, and when a wave of warmth is welcomed in freezing weather, this ominous trend is not comforting at all. Climate Central also predicts that by 2025, 23 states in the US are projected to lose at least a month of freezing days, and note, this tally doesn't only include the below freezing nights. Pamela Knox, an agricultural climatologist at the University of Georgia Extension, says, in general, winters have been getting warmer across the country and really across the world. It turns out that the colder seasons are warming up more quickly than the warmer seasons. She further added that warmer winters are the strongest evidence for human-driven climate change. According to her, our ravenous appetite for fossil fuels and rapid industrialization is going to change the planet for the worse. There are some hard-to-swallow pills too. It's quite certain that we can't go out of our way to change the weather patterns that have shaped our climate for centuries. But so far, we've made conditions for La Niña and El Niño to become much more terrifying and ravaging. Climate scientists infer that many people aren't aware of the effects of even the most minute changes in temperature. In particular, people residing in snowbound areas must realize the dangers they're living in. Professor Richard Rood from the University of Michigan explains why. People living in freezing zones know all too well that the type of snow can greatly influence how dangerous snowstorms can be. You might recall from science class that when temperatures hover around freezing, precipitation can come as rain, snow, or ice. The real problems arise in areas that are usually well below freezing. As the climate shifts or becomes much hotter, these regions are starting to see more ice storms, something they're not accustomed to dealing with. There's a big difference in how snow behaves depending on the temperature. When it's well below freezing, the snow tends to be fluffy and dry, easier to manage, since it can be cleared away in chunks. But when the temperature is closer to the freezing point, snow becomes slushy with heavy, wet flakes. This seemingly small change can have huge consequences, a phenomenon that we witnessed in February 2024. Slushy snow makes roads treacherous, leading to major accidents. It also sticks to power lines, often causing them to collapse. Plus, scientists like Richard Rood are warning about another significant shift in weather patterns in North America. According to Rood, snowstorms forming in warmer, wetter environments are becoming more frequent and intense. As temperatures rise, more heat leads to increased evaporation, which in turn causes more precipitation. In North America, more frequent and severe snowstorms are bad news, especially since our level of preparedness pales in comparison to the extreme weather conditions we might experience. Here's the thing though, one of the biggest perils of climate change is our inability to predict what comes next. For instance, when certain areas of the US become hotter and wetter, the others will become unbelievably cold. Since La Niña is known to dip the temperatures already, we might experience the whitest winter of all time, and the climate will be very unbearable for an average human person. What we can expect is the complete eradication of winter crops too. No wonder why scientists are warning us of sheer food insecurity in the near future. Professor Richard Rood explains that, on average, freezing temperatures are gradually moving northward and along the Atlantic coast, deeper into the continent. In the dead of winter, freezing temperatures are now reaching as far north as Lake Superior and southern Canada, areas where just 50 years ago it was reliably below freezing from early December through February. While these notions might sound futuristic to us for now, we don't have ample time to fix the Earth. Professor Rood's publications, along with those of other experts, paint a stark picture of what's to come. Many scientists believe that we're already experiencing these ominous predictions. For example, in the eastern, wetter parts of the US, heavy rainfall is increasingly replacing snowfall, particularly after the hottest year on record. As winters in 2024 and 2025 continue to warm, we're likely to see more flood-like conditions in these areas. As we head towards La Niña, North America has to prepare for a series of storms, hurricanes, and tornadoes. But to top it all, we must fear the extinction of what it means to experience a winter. From winter sporting activities to commercial activities, our future hangs on our level of preparedness, and scientists warn that we're losing the big game. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.